My name is Monica Gleberman, and you're listening to Silence on Set podcast. On today's podcast, we're speaking to Brent Pope. You might recognize him from Silicon Valley, Better Things, Roseanne, Speechless, Casual, but today we're talking to him about the hit show With Love. With Love is a romantic comedy centered on siblings Lily and Jorge Diaz as they navigate big life changes and rely on their equally big family to get them through. Following Lily's whirlwind romance with Santiago, Lily decides to focus all her energy on a personal journey of self-love by growing her makeup styling business and looking into home ownership. So to discuss his career, all the shows he's been on, and of course discuss his character from With Love, here is Brent Pope. I wanted to start off right away with, it's very interesting when you enter a show that's been established, right? If you're doing a cameo, if you're on for one episode, 2 episodes, whatever the case is. So as an actor, because you jump so much from show to show, I have 2 questions for you, but I'll start with the first one. So the first one is, how do you kind of prepare yourself? And is it a weird experience kind of stepping in to like an established show?
I mean, every time is different. You never know what kind of set you're walking into. Hopefully it's a very inviting and amazing set. Sometimes they've been around too long and that's kind of like, not that they're going through the motions, but they're like, they've been there and they've kind of done the job already. And then, you come in all rosy cheeked and they're like, yeah, okay, buddy. As far as how I prepare, I mean, it's just, I assume nothing. I come in, I try to be friendly. I'm a big fan, like you are, of a lot of shows and things. So I try to watch all that I can, especially if I'm going to be on the show. And it's amazing when 2 things coincide when you're on a show that you really enjoy already. So that's the upside of it, is like sometimes you get to go on shows that you're already a big fan of,
And my other question, because I'm just so interested in this, is also, how is it as an actor? Because, just kind of what you said, some actors are on shows for longer than they really want to be, and they kind of, contractually and, all the fun stuff of the business. So they're kind of like stuck there and they have to do what they have to do. Other people love their shows and are crying, right, in the last season. But for you, you get to kind of jump from show to show and play so many different people. So as an actor, how is that like super fun to kind of change it up? Or do you have trouble when you go from script to script or show to show? So how do you kind of handle that aspect of it?
Yeah. Well, in my heart, I'm like a sketch comedian, so I love different characters. I love playing different characters. I love trying different things. What that brought to mind to me immediately was some weird things about when you're only on the show for like 1 episode or a couple episodes. I was on the show Silicon Valley, and I had a big thing where I was the official tow truck driver of Pied Piper on Silicon Valley, right? But the guy's car I towed, I never met Jimmy O Yang, the actor, or Jin Yang on the show, but Jimmy O Yang, the comedian, who's very funny. And so I have these weird things where I'll see them at a Clipper game and I'll be like, hey, I didn't work with you, but I did tow remember when your car got towed on the show? That was me, even though we didn't meet. You have weird things like that where you think we should have met, but we didn't. But really, I love doing different characters. So it's fun for me. If I could get on a show where I get to play somebody for 5 years, that'd be awesome too, because that you really get a dig into the character. But I do love just trying different things and being different people.
Yeah. And when I was going through, I wasn't kidding. You've been on everything. I mean, I wrote down The Bold and the Beautiful. I was writing down shows that I've watched. You were in Pink Collar Crimes. I love Tommy, by the way.
Yeah.
You were in The Oval, PR Professionals, Station 19. That was great. You were like fantastic on that show.
I mean, if you want to see me crying in the street, that's the one you watched. Me on Station 19.
But you were really good. That was like in a really emotional character. That was such a great episode.
Thank you.
So
that was
stuff
fun.
going on.
Yeah.
And I feel like a lot of times with these shows, there's so much going on, but you need those characters, right? Like Chicago Med, PD, these type of shows, you need the characters that come in that we care about, right? That we see that they're taken care of or things are happening to. So I was just going through and I was like, oh, I loved him in. I was just like marking down and I went, oh my gosh, he's been in like literally everything known to man. Surfside Girls was another one we're fantastic in. So when we talked obviously about you jumping and like playing all these things. You mentioned it a little bit, but for example, With Love, which is your most recent, which I love the character out there. If they were to say, hey, we want to do this huge arc, we want you for the next 6 seasons, that's something you would be interested in as an actor, to kind of like learn about the character in a different way than what you've been doing before.
Yeah, I mean, that would be great, because then you get to like live that life a lot more, and you're going to discover new things. And, I think also with things that are on streaming or even most things that just aren't on network, you're not doing 25 episodes anyway. You're doing maybe like 8 or 10. So that would still leave you time, theoretically, to do other shows, so you could be on one show. And then I think Mark Indelicato, who plays Jorge, he on With Love also goes back more between that and Hacks. I mean, that's got to be fun because you like kind of get those two things set, and then whatever comes in between, you can have fun there. So, that's an example of like how it can really work right now during streaming, where you get to play the character for a long time, but you also get to jump around to different things. So
it is very interesting because the streaming platform is so different, because people are used to that 24 episode, 22 episode a season. That was like back in my day, back in the day, right? That's what we watched. And, the actors were kind of all year long. You had December off, you had the summer off, and then you went back to work. And it was the 6 to 8 day, depending on what show you're doing, kind of
Right.
fill schedule. So when you're on a streaming platform and you have the 8 episodes to 10 episodes, you have so much of the year to like go off and do anything that you want, other projects, movies, TV shows. I think it's an interesting format for sure. I mean, I think all of us want more episodes of the shows, right? So for fans,
depends on the show.
like, we want more episodes, but I think it's great for actors in particular to be able to do multiple things. And you're kind of an example of that, because you've been able to kind of jump around and do all different types of kind of characters and different actors.
Right.
What was one of your most favorite roles that you've played from all of the shows that you've done? Because they've been so different.
Okay, I'm such a huge fan of Pamela Adlon. I always have been. Her show Better Things, to me, that's like, while that show was on, was just like my favorite show on television. And even though I had a very small part on it, I mean, just the chance to get to work with her, to be part of her set, she does everything. She's the showrunner, she's, the writer, she's the star of the show. I mean, she had to overcome, because Louis C.K. was on that as one of the co-creators, I think the head writers at the beginning, and had to kind of survive that. And she did. She took all this other stuff on her own. So like, to me, she's like Superwoman, and like just getting to work with her, because I'm such a fan of all the stuff she's done over the years. I mean, King of the Hill, are you kidding me? Bobby Hill? That's crazy. So just to get to work with her. And also a weird thing that happened on that show was, where were they shooting? It was like La Cañada or somewhere up there kind of in the hills. And there was a bear in the neighborhood that it had a cub, so nobody wanted to bother the bear. But it was like, you could see it in the distance where we were shooting, like in a tree with the cub. And then it would come down like in the morning and like swim in the guy's pool across the street. So just for the weird experiences, I mean, Better Things was so much fun for me.
That would be something that would only happen in Hollywood or New York.
Right. Yeah, right.
Like something random like that. Or for here, it would be like Bear Got Loose from Zoo. There, it's just Bear in the wild.
Yeah, and it was one of those things too, where it's like, it had been there, I guess, the entire time they were shooting, like for a couple weeks, I guess. And they were saying, like, guys, I know we're kind of getting used to this bear being here. Just don't forget, it's still a bear. So don't try to get close and get pictures or anything with the bear, which people weren't doing, but they were just like, let's be mindful that this is still a bear, even though he's been around us and getting a little bit used to us,
I always like wonder too, for actors that do kind of what you do, like your formula, which I guess is not really formula. I know there's no like master plan, but a lot of actors do kind of what you do, which is like go from show to show. Do you ever, like, not to like be a downer question, but do you ever get worried? I mean, again, it's the same thing with any actor. You could be on a TV show for 10 years and nothing's guaranteed in this business at all. As we all know, the character could die, they could write you off, whatever the case is. Do you feel more insecure or less insecure because you're able to kind of jump, and you've done it consistently since, I think I looked up, I think it was like since 2018 or even before that. So you've consistently worked nonstop on shows. So does that give you more stability, less stability? Like how do you feel for that?
I don't know about stability, but as far as me feeling like confident, like the more, the first couple TV shows you book, you're just like hoping that when you watch the show, you're still on it, because a lot of times you're doing like a little one line thing. I mean, a good example, I shot the pilot of the assassination of Gianni Versace, which was a great show. And I was supposed to be this guy who stole, while they were doing CPR on Versace, I stole all of his stuff and like went to sell it on eBay. And there was another scene of me trying to sell stuff on eBay or on over the phone. And then when the show came out, they were going to the window I was in. I was like, oh, here we go. And I was like, oh no, someone else is in the window. I'm not on the show at all. So not that doesn't still happen, but like as you do more shows, you realize, okay, that could happen. Hopefully it doesn't happen, but most of the time you're going to be on the show, so you feel a little more comfortable. Yeah, I guess as you do more of them, you feel a little more confident. But there's still always that thing in the back of your head, like, what if it goes just right and I'm not on the show at all?
It's an actor thing. No matter
It's
where
definitely an
you are,
actor thing. Yeah,
yeah.
100%.
So were you supposed to be the guy in that show after he gets murdered, the one when he's on the stairs? And were you supposed to be the one that runs up and like, or is it before that?
No, it was a guy that was in the operating room while they're trying to save his life. And
Oh,
there's like
wow, that's
there's like
crazy.
yeah, there's like x-rays, there's like his bloody clothes, like his t-shirt. And if I had been in the show, you would have seen me just walk over and just grab the stuff and book out the door and then be trying to sell it later to other people. So now that was crazy because even though I didn't actually appear on the show, I still got to work with Ryan Murphy, which is just like, because he does the pilot of most of his shows, I think. So to get directed by Ryan Murphy is just a legend. Was also just, I mean, it was almost worth, it was still worth it to do, even though I didn't appear in the show. You know, you build that relationship and you can work with someone that's, you know, very well known in the industry.
Well, see, okay, so that's another question I have for you. I was gonna say, when you're on every show, no demand, and they're all really popular, really
Yeah.
good shows, really well written, amazing talent attached, amazing writers, directors attached. Do you start forming friendships over the years? And then when they do another project, they, you know, you're like, hey, can I like go be on that? Like, does that start happening where you guys kind of all become friends and work together? I feel like in this nice, like little happy, like actor world that you guys all like talk to each other and work together again.
You know, it depends. It depends on the show. Like, talk about With Love, my latest show. Like Vincent Rodriguez the third and I are, you know, we text like pretty regularly, and he really treated me like I was, you know, even though I'm just his dad on set, he treated me like I was his dad, like we were family, and we would eat lunch together. And you know, I can run things by him. He'll let me know if something cool is happening. So it can go like that. Sometimes you don't ever see them again, and that's okay too. Maybe there's not another part that is right for you for them. I mentioned Pamela Adlon earlier. She, after I did her show, I was sitting in the truck that day and it was like 100 degrees and I was sweating so much. And she was like, "You're such a professional." She goes, "I'm going to have you on the show again, or I'm going to bring you in for something else." She goes, "I mean, people probably won't remember you played this one part because you won't be dressed as with a hard hat." And she did every season. She had me read for other parts on the show. In fact, there was even I mentioned it too. I think it was the last season. I said, "Yeah, Pam brings me in every season to read for something." And the casting person was like, "Yeah, even if you're not right for the part." So, which I thought was funny and fair. And
That's so nice, though.
yeah. So it can happen like that too. Or you could be on Roseanne when it's the number one show on television, and then you know Roseanne gets fired and canceled. That could happen too, and then you never come back ever. So you know things can just happen that are, it's all, as you know, out of your control. So you just have to control what you can, which is, you know, your performance and you, how you present yourself to everyone, and everything else is just kind of a two-way street and not in your control, you know.
And what made you decide? Because when I was looking back and doing some research, I saw 2018, 2017 was around the time you kind of started getting into, you know, doing television and entertainment stuff. I don't know if you did anything prior. I was trying to look online and like find some information. But what made you decide to go into acting to begin with and start heading down this fun route of this business?
Got you. Gotcha. Well, I feel like I love making people laugh. I love entertaining people, and that's always just been a thing. I remember I was like somebody's like fourth grade party, and I was, whether this was supposed to be funny or not, I was singing along to Kool and the Gang, like Celebration, you know, and somebody was like, "You're really funny." And I was like, "I am?" It felt really good. And I tried to do that more. And so I mentioned you know, I've done a lot of sketch comedy. And one thing you don't see is like when you're starting, if you're not starting on some big project, which oftentimes you don't. I mean, there are years of me doing commercials. You know, there's me on the HGTV wearing a shirt that says "Kiss Me, I Compost," and I'm digging in the backyard. I mean, that's not something you would ever, I don't even know if you can find that, but I had a lot of commercials. I was doing a lot of sketch comedy at festivals around the nation. So I wouldn't say that I made a choice to start doing like TV. I would say that I guess I finally got to the place where they believed in me enough. And also I found my manager, Jess Canty, who was like, I think the first person who really, really believed that I can do anything. And when you have a team like that, because I always believed that. Then it becomes easier. And it was like pretty soon after I started working with her, I started booking all these TV shows. So, was it timing? Was it the relationship? It's probably a little bit of all those things. But I would have loved to have been on TV 10 years before that, but it just didn't happen. So
Well, I always find it interesting too that a lot of actors do commercials and stuff like that. I mean, it's really good work and good pay, and it's like a good intro into kind of the environment and what it looks like and where a camera is and where you stand. And a lot of actors have told me like that's where they learned kind of like the bare minimum basics of, oh, that's what the tape on the floor is, or oh, that's what camera B means, or so you really kind of get your feel of what it's like to be in front of cameras doing commercials. And there's so many actors I've spoken to, and they say the same thing as you. They're like, you'd be shocked to find out like the first thing I ever did was like a coffee commercial. And I'm like, really? Like, and they've had a whole like movie career, a whole like a whole television career. And I'm like, wow, that's crazy. But they said that it was one of the best things because they learned so much about kind of the industry and what to do. And one actor in particular said like, you get to make all your mistakes because you're doing a commercial. So it's like, it's not as critical as, the money that if you're making a mistake during production of a TV show or something where you're holding up everybody, so that the commercial life is a little easier, a little kinder when you're kind of starting out.
yeah, sometimes. I mean, I remember the first commercial I ever did, Time Warner Roadrunner commercial. I had a small part where I was just carrying a box and walking down the hill with all these other people with their screen names on their boxes. I never saw this commercial. I don't know if it exists, but there was only really 2 lines in the commercial. One of them was given to somebody that was on the very first season of Big Brother. Okay. And they had one word to say, just one word. They couldn't say the word in the way that they liked. And so that person got fired, and they just picked somebody else and they got their part. So I also learned that, you better be prepared because there are 100 other people here that could do what you do. Just like every time I get a role on a show, there are 100 other people that could have got the part. I feel lucky that I got it. I feel lucky. So I never take it for granted. I always prepare as much as I can because they could also always choose not you instead of you. So
yeah, but do you ever think like, for example, to bring us to With Love, which,
okay.
Ben is one of my favorite characters. I love him so much. He's so cute. First of all, we need you more on that show. So
I agree.
so let's put that out there now because
Yes.
we need you more on that show. I love the show. I love the premise in season 1 where it was solely kind of holidays. Season 2 went into that, but it went a little further. We got a couple extra episodes that weren't necessarily holiday related, but it was so great with the cultural stuff that they showed and just this family, and there's like no apologies for it. And I just love everything about it. Everything about that show. I love it. And so for that, it's so funny that you should say like, anybody could do it, or maybe because I don't think they can. So when I'm watching you as Ben, I don't picture, and I can't picture somebody else playing him. I just feel like you got him, you nailed it on screen, and like that is who he is. And then, and I want to see more of him. So, and that's me as a viewer. I think it's harder as an actor because you're probably criticizing yourself or watching it or viewing your way, in a certain way. But for you, what was it like landing the role of Ben, and then also this is a very massive cast. So, and a lot of the scenes are collective. A lot of the big kind of, holiday scenes has every cast member there. So what is it like for you kind of walking and playing this character, working with these actors and this kind of crazy family that we love?
Yeah. Well, first of all, it was it was delightful. That's the word that springs to mind. I just like the cast, the crew, Gloria Kellett, the showrunner it was delightful. And the chance for me to play a Filipino character, someone that's written into the script as a Filipino character, I've never done that before in my life. So that was great. And not only that, to have a whole Filipino family, I can't name too many times or any times that we've seen an entire like nuclear Filipino family all played by Filipino actors too. Now, probably happened, but I can't name any times. So that was really special to me, I was born in the Philippines. So to get to play this part, and I'll tell you what, sometimes you come to the role and sometimes the role comes to you. And what I mean is Ben, we know that he kind of loves to play practical jokes. That's me. You know what I mean? He lives in the Midwest. That's me. I grew up in the Midwest. So sometimes the part is just so right for you that you sit there and go, well, man, if I don't get this part, what part can I get? But like I said, I still think there could have been a few other people that did the part. It would have been different. I guess you could say that always like that. There's the whole Eric Stoltz and Michael J. Fox. How would it have been with Eric Stoltz and Michael J. Fox? I don't know. Eric Stoltz is a pretty good actor, But being part of that family is just great. I have my own opinions too. I'm a fan of the show. Like once I I had the audition, I watched. I was gonna just watch the pilot, and then I was like, I watched the entire first season in one night. After I did my audition. So, and maybe I'm not supposed to take sides. I'm fully Team Nick. I'm Team Nick. In the
Ooh,
Lily
scandal
sweepstakes.
starting now.
Look, but mostly because I worked more with Desmond, the actor, so I know him. You know, what I mean, but look, I
Listen,
think it's
Nick is a great guy, and
yeah,
Santiago, is not making the best decisions either. So he's a little
yeah.
slow on the uptake. Which,
He
listen, a
is
lot
on
of
the
men
uptake,
are.
but
A lot
then
of men are.
yeah, he's just. But that's the thing too, is he's new to this wanting love. I think, right? I mean, he
Right.
didn't believe in marriage. Maybe he does now. Look, we got to get to season 3 so we can see if something happens here. I mean, I need to know.
I need to know because, like, it was so horrible because, like, the show was so good. And in the beginning, I wanted Santiago and them to be together. But then I do think, like, if you're not ready, you're not ready. And it's not
Yeah,
good. And,
yeah,
like, so I kind of agree with you in a sense that Nick was the one that was always there. And then, I think with that last episode with them, and Nick finds out that she had kissed and, it's raining and he goes to kind of stomps off and you don't know where their relationship's going to be. And then they work it out. And then we have the wedding, obviously, and like all the
yeah,
fun stuff that came later with the family. But I don't know. Like, I have a thing. I have a little sweet spot for Nick, and I just feel like he was there and he's been there forever. So I get you. I get where Team Nick's
yeah,
coming from. Whereas Santiago, I think needs a little work. I think he has to work on himself a little bit to be ready. And then, of course, he meets a family member because there's a like I don't know. I was like, no.
yeah, yeah,
he bumps into a family member. So
yeah.
who knows what's going to happen? But the wedding was so much fun at the end of that episode to kind of see everybody together and go through all the shenanigans of the wedding and how crazy and chaotic a wedding is, especially when two siblings are fighting. And it was very cute and
Yeah.
very well done. So I'm
Look,
like,
you have no idea. They could have done a 4-hour episode where it was just dance battles, and it would have been fully. I mean, this this cast, they're very talented at dancing. Not me. I do what I can. I get by, but we talking about people that done like Broadway shows and just like naturally really good dancers. So that wedding could have gone on for a long, long time. If it was like on a network, we might have had like 2 whole episodes of just people dancing. That
it
could
would
have
have been
been.
fun, like a part 1 and a part 2
Yeah, yeah,
of the
yeah,
wedding. I know, and what was so great is I did get to speak to a majority of the cast, and you can feel the love there. So I feel like anyone that comes on that's new, or anyone that comes on for a couple episodes, or hopefully like Ben that will be on for season 3,
yeah,
I feel like there's a lot of love and a lot of acceptance in there. And there's like also because it like you said, it's a Filipino cast and they don't hide it, they don't apologize for it, they don't ask questions of it, there's no explanation of things. It's like you just watch it. And like some of the holidays are not holidays that I necessarily celebrate, but if I didn't know about it, I learned about it. And
hmm
again, it's not preachy, it's not teaching, it's just the way these people are living.
yeah,
And so I enjoyed it so much. So by talking to all of them and by talking to you, I can see like how all of you would just mesh so well together because
yeah,
there seems to just be so much love and respect. And then you guys have that in common of your background, which is so nice to be on a set where you have that because that doesn't exist a lot. And like you kind of said earlier, you don't know of another one. I can't name another one, which is sad. We obviously need a lot more of that, but to have it exist is really important for a lot of people.
yeah,
And even the content, and I was saying this when I interviewed them, the content that they show, sexual orientation, relationships, like just wherever you're at in life is so
yeah.
accepted and so loved in this family.
Generational love, yeah,
Yes,
different
it's just so
generations.
beautiful. It's like such a beautiful show to be on. So when I saw you on there, I got super excited because I knew you from like Station 19 and a bunch of other things. And I had
Mm,
like recognized you and I was like, I know him from somewhere. Then when I looked it up, I was like, he's been in everything. But
yeah,
I love Ben. How would you describe, and I know it was like we saw him briefly, but like how would you describe him on that show? And I know, he's a dad and he's, part of the family and there's a lot of chaos going on in this family. So how would you
yeah,
describe him? And are you hoping that, I mean, obviously, I think we're all hoping we see him for next season because we ended on a cliffhanger, like a
yeah.
horrible kind of question mark.
Yes,
So
we did.
give me all the info. What do you know? Tell
Um,
me everything.
well, just shh. just dance.
Just us. No one will know.
Look, for Ben at his core, he's kind of the fun dad.
Yeah.
I think that Leia, named after Leia Salonga, that's a little, Leia Salonga, the famous Filipino singer actor. I believe more like a heart to hearts. He's coming to mom, and that dad is kind of the fun dad. I love my son, definitely, but I think in many times in the Filipino culture, the guy is not the one that's spreading all of his emotions. Maybe I can grow in that way, maybe I think that's a cultural thing generally, and it gets, I think, better all the time, but it is kind of a thing, it's kind of like with the Latino culture, same thing, where the guys are supposed to be macho, historically. But I think Ben loves his son, doesn't care who he's in love with, but also loves to, you saw how much joy he got just knowing that they, kind of pulled one over on everyone, and we had a lot of fun with it, and that it was a family thing. That was you could tell it was a whole family effort to do that. So that's got to come from somewhere. That's like the parents like leading into that and teaching their son, like, it's fun to, so that's how we show our love, I would say, is by, if you and me, if I don't at some point when we're hanging out kind of tease you a little bit, then that probably means we're not getting along, because I tease people that I like.
So similar to the character, what was your like favorite parts? Because you guys were so funny, and I mean, and I bought into it too, that like maybe the parents weren't happy, like I wasn't really sure. I didn't know that they were going to be like big prankster, and I mean, there's so many good parts of that. I mean, with the hats, the over like Texas stuff, like there was just so many good things that like happened in that episode. You guys were so funny. So was there like a specific moment or scene that you guys filmed and you were just like, this is so ridiculously hilarious? Like, first of all, like, this is so funny, this material's amazing, but then you go, how do I get through this material without hysterically laughing? So was there a specific scene that you loved?
Look, and Mark Indelicato, who's playing my son-in-law now, right? He's the faces that he gets, and they're real. You know what I mean? Is just like, it's hard to not laugh, because as the character too, I'm living his life, and I'm like, oh, I'm trying to get this reaction out of you. And when I'm getting it, it's tough to not break, as the character. Look, all the stuff with the Western wear, which is just like, I looked, the costumers on With Love are next level. I mean, you've seen the show, all the dresses and at the wedding, and everyone's costumes are just always, it's never something generic. It's always something very particular to the character. So I loved all the stuff where we get to wear interesting things, like all the Western wear and the belt buckle and like you mentioned, the scene with the hats, where we're trying to get Jorge to put on cowboy hats, and he does not want to put on a cowboy hat. That was probably the most fun for me. Maybe that, or when we're trying to get him to have this giant bull be at his wedding, which is ridiculous, but like we did it so earnestly that he had to believe it, so
you guys were so good on it, and I loved it too, because it's such a family. When we meet you guys, and we don't know, right? We don't know if you guys are being serious or not, and you guys did such a good job at playing it, because I wasn't sure. I'm like, oh my gosh, this poor family, like they're into like Texas, and like they're not going to fit in at all, and you guys were so believable. I loved the kitchen scene when you guys come in, you're like, gotcha, and he had been sweating the whole episode, he's freaking out, your parents don't like me, and I don't know what to do, and like I just love that whole scene, and that you guys thought it was the funniest thing. And then I love when you walk out, and then your son goes, listen, that's how we accept you in our family. Like, if we didn't kind of give you a hard time, that's when you should be worried. Like, so them giving you a hard time is because we love you. And then I loved, even to go further later in the episode, they're kind of talking about it, and then he goes, the hats aren't really that bad, and he puts one on, it's like bedazzled and all like pretty and like glorious, and he like puts it on, and it was just so cute, and it was like a nod back to like the funniness of the parents, and just dealing with everything and connecting. And I just thought it was so beautiful. It was so well done. It was so much fun to see you guys, because we haven't ever met you yet, and we hadn't seen where he had come from.
When I was watching it back, watching the episodes, so there's sometimes where you get genuine Brent reactions, which is like, because Vincent Rodriguez actually does magic. So the magic you saw on the show, I mean, he could really do that. The stuff that he did. If you go back and watch the reactions, I'm just like, but that's really, I think people who do magic is, I wish I could do it. I'm just not, say I can't do it, but I've never learned how to do any magic tricks. So yeah, I don't know. It was just all fun. And then, what I really love about that show, I think a lot of my favorite shows are ones like Better Things, even like the show Roseanne, right? Are shows where you're really, really laughing. And then 2 seconds later, you're like, oh man, who's cutting onions here? Because we go in that scene you were talking about, where we reveal to him that we're, we're playing some jokes and this is how we accept you into the family. 2 seconds later, there's a big argument, and you're like, oh no, is this all gonna, it just takes you on a roller coaster ride of emotions. And that's what I look for when I'm watching a show, is things that can give you all the emotions, and really make you care about the characters. So,
like I said, I loved you as an add-on, and I loved when you guys came in, and I thought it was so much fun. And because we see so many of the family members, I feel like people stick, right? Like new characters have come in and they've stuck. So I'm
yeah.
really, really hoping that the two of you, like, stay, husband and wife, and we get to see you guys on there more. Is there any word of season 3, or have you heard anything, or we're just kind of waiting?
Haven't heard anything yet. I mean, but it's doing the second season and first season are both like in the top 10 of Amazon Prime right now on their shows. So that's a good sign, right? That the people are going back and watching season 1 and watching season 2. So I'm hoping. I mean, I think it's it's such a show for these times right now, and how people are feeling. So I haven't heard anything. If I did, I would wink. Wait, I went. Wink. No, wait, I didn't. That doesn't count.
He's like, oh no, wait, I winked. No, just kidding.
No, and I would love to come back and play. I mean, we haven't actually seen Ben and Leia interact with Jorge's parents, so that
Right.
would be a whole nother level.
And that's what I mean. And like, or what it would be like for you to be part of the family, or do trivia night, or do holidays. Like, why wouldn't you guys be all there? Right. So
Right.
I'm just manifesting this out loud is what I'm doing.
I mean,
But I
they've
would
done.
picture you guys there at every holiday and, moving forward, because you're part of the family now.
Look, they've done karaoke on the show before, but they haven't done it with me.
Right.
So.
They've done karaoke, they've done it with you, they've done trivia night. We need to have you guys there. I mean, like, there's a lot of stuff and like we always get like a Christmas or like a Thanksgiving episode, like so many options of, or ways to have you guys on there. And you're part of the family now, and they introed you. And like I said, when they intro some people, like they kind of stick. So I'm hoping that we'll see more of the parents come in, and specifically more of Ben. But I have to tell you, you were so funny. I mean, those were like some of the best parts of the season. I was dying laughing. I mean, it was just so good. So,
Well, it's well written. When it's well written and it's supposed to be funny, it's easy to be funny, So.
Well, your timing is really good though, too. You have really, really, really good timing. So it was just very, very, very funny. So I'm going to keep my fingers crossed. I'm manifesting that goes out in the world, because I really want to
Yes.
support you. And I think there's so much story to tell with his parents, and so much fun that can be had, and like kind of like shenanigans of all of them getting together and kind of incorporating because they're new and all of that kind of stuff. I wanted to know though, while you were on set doing those episodes, were there any like fun, kind of chaotic or crazy things that happen? Because you're all crazy. I've interviewed them and I said that to them too. I'm like, you're all crazy. They're all loud and crazy and funny and inappropriate. And we were like cracking up like during our interviews. So I can only imagine what's happening off camera. But what was that like when you guys were not filming necessarily?
It's
Give
just
some
fun,
dirt.
If you're not on the set and you're somewhere like far enough away, there's usually maybe some music playing unless somebody's preparing, but everybody's just fun on that show and they're all nice, which isn't always the case. Hopefully it is, but it's not always, it just can't be. Like, not everybody can be at their best all the time. So I told Gloria, the showrunner, I said, man, I can't believe you cast me in this, and being like someone, I love to play pranks. She goes, oh, you should play pranks on Benito and Constance, who was Jorge's parents. And I was like, no. And maybe if I came back for another season, I feel like I could do that. But I feel like you have to be more a part of the main cast before you can start pulling pranks on people, But, Gloria was all down for it. So I guess I could have tried. And the other thing is Benito Martinez, right? We've seen him in so many things, right? I had no idea how funny that guy is. He's so funny. And he's always playing like, plays a lot of kind of like bad guys or guys that are dubious, that you're dubious about. So just stuff like that where you get to kind of, meet people. Isis King is an icon, man, like I was such a hero to my niece just hanging out with Isis, so.
Well, that's how I felt too, because when I interviewed them, I got to talk to both of them. And what was so funny is I had all these questions that were like really prepared. And I was like, I've seen you in all these things. And then we ended up talking about their relationship on the show, right? Like, how they had marital problems and they kind of are working through it. And somehow, and I just started laughing because it turned into a sex conversation, which was like about how like now they're having sex and and it was just so funny that I'm going, oh my God, these are like two legends that I'm talking to that have been working forever, that have been
Yeah.
everything known to man. And it was just so funny. And then I think at one point I was just like, we were like wrapping up and I went, oh my gosh, I just wasted this whole entire time talking about your sex life like on the show. And then Benito just goes, yeah, like that at the end, and he was like, "That's how it should be. That's what we should be talking about." And I was like, "Oh my gosh, this is so crazy." Because it's true, you do get used to like seeing him in kind of like macho roles or like various like roles, and he's so funny in the show, and he's
Huh.
such a sweet human. So it was just so funny that we were talking about it, and the two of them loved it, and we had so much fun, and it was so funny. But literally, that was my whole time, like my whole
Yeah.
like 10 minutes or whatever I had with them. We were just talking about like them having sex and how they're sexy and bringing sexy back and sexy at an older age
Yes.
and stuff like that. But Benito was very funny, and he was just like, yes. He's like, this is what we should be talking about. And he was like, you should
Right.
come over here right now. And I was like, you guys are so fun. Like, I need to come visit this cast. So I can
Yeah.
only imagine what it would be like on set. But yeah, it's really nice when you see that too. Cause I think you're a good actor when you're like, ooh, like that person might be like scary, or I've seen him in a ton of things and he's like a legend, or he has this. And then you meet them and they're like super fun and crazy and funny. And,
Yeah.
and
Right.
then you're like, wow, like you're so different. And again, it's the beauty of acting, right? It's like that magical thing, this thing that you guys do, it's this magical thing you guys do that gives us all joy. And then we meet you guys and we're like, oh wow, they're not their character, they're different. That's what they do for a living.
Yeah.
That's how they act. It's
Yep.
so much fun. But for you, I mean, it's been such a joy. Like it was so great to see you added to that show, and like I said, manifesting it out loud. I would love to see you return to a few shows too, for other like characters that I've seen you play. Is there one in particular that you would love to get like a call from tomorrow to like return on?
A lot of the shows I've done are not well. Okay, Surfside Girls. I could do more of that. Playing the city councilman. That was super fun. I mean, and that was another really fun cast. In a completely different way than with Love. It's there's a lot of kid actors on that show that are all just delightful. But the parents on that show are really good, and the cast and crew on that one are really fun. But that's a fun character for me to play. Is the kind of clueless guy that's in charge of a meeting. That's always fun. So
Gotta love Jim.
yeah, that'd be a fun
Poor
one to come back
Jim.
to.
So that would be a fun one too. Is there any other one that you would want to go back to? I know like some that
Well,
can't, like, at Station you can't, but like there's
yeah.
other ones.
I mean, I guess Station 19, I could run over another person, huh?
True. You could be out. They could be like, oh, he's out.
Yeah.
Oh
Oh
no, we
no,
have
they
to go
find
find
me.
him.
Oh, this guy's passed out. Wait, that's the guy that ran over the drug dealer that robbed us
Yeah.
5 seasons ago. The one part that I had one of the most fun times with was on the show Casual with Michaela Watkins, who I'm also huge fan of. Michaela Watkins, so funny, so talented. She had in that show Casual, I think it was the last season, she was trying to open her own wine store and decided she was going to save money by doing all the plumbing and stuff on her own. And I was kind of that,
You're the plumber. You were
Yeah, I
so
was a plumber. It was kind of like, oh, wow, somebody messed this up. She goes, oh, that was me. Well, you messed it up. What else did you do yourself? And I love it because she's so good that, when you see the reaction, like she seems like she's really mad. That's satisfying to you as the person that's trying to make the other character mad. That's a really fun part too. Just the guy that's like unintentionally twisting the knife.
I love that show too. That was like such a great show. So, and then for the opposite kind of angle, what show would you love to be on? Or is there a show that you're like, oh, like I really would love to like audition for that? Or even a movie, something coming up that you're like, it has to be a role for me.
Yeah, I mean, every time I see one of those, I can't believe all of Brooklyn Nine-Nine went by, and like that's one of my dream roles is just like the clueless detective. It's kind of funny. One of the things that allowed me to do with Love was another show that's not out yet, where I was auditioning. I had a callback. It was a pretty big part for a kind of a clueless detective, and for the callback, I got COVID, and I just like had snot and like coughing, and I didn't get it, and then that allowed me to get With Love because they were shooting at the same time. So With Love was a little bit later, something like that. Maybe. Also, I'll take one of those Disney shows where I play the dad for 5 years, the dumb dad, 5 years. Let's go.
I think you could also do like very serious roles too. But I think anything funny, I think you would probably get more enjoyment out of because you're a funny, like lighthearted person. So like I would love to see you in like a Disney role, or you would have been so good as like in a Marvel movie, like one of the like where it's like the funny one, like one of the that gets like a weird superpower or something like funny.
Right.
And like where like Paul Rudd made it so funny to that, and Marvel wasn't funny. It was like so badass, and it was supposed to be all of them, kind of taking care of the world. But he made that into a funny role and became like iconic. So things like that, again, I'm putting these out there for people listening, for all of you casting agents.
Right.
Cast Brent in something. I want him in a huge movie or something big.
And something very serious.
Yes, or a serious role. You could definitely play. I think you would shock people if you were like a total like just dick, like on a show, like a total
Yeah.
horrible person. I think that would like shock
Yeah.
people, and I think
Yeah.
you could definitely do it for sure.
I'd love it. Yeah.
Yeah,
All those
you're open
things.
to all of it. So what are you up to now? So With Love is obviously it's airing now-ish. I think it's all on. I get screeners, so I'm always behind like the actors. I'm always going, but I think it's all out. So you have With Love season 1, which you were not in, but season 1 is out and people can watch that and stream it on Amazon and then or Prime Video. And then you can watch season 2 now. And we have this cliffhanger and we're all waiting for an announcement for season 3. So we're keeping our fingers crossed. But while we wait, what are you so I heard, and I wasn't sure if this was true. I heard a rumor
Okay.
that you did another project. Not sure if it's true or not. Melissa might kill me, but with Delay of the Game, is that something that you're working on?
Oh,
Or when I was researching, your
yeah.
name kept coming up with it, so I
Yeah.
wasn't sure. Sometimes it's wrong.
Delay Game is about to start making the festival circuit. That's a very
Okay.
fun project. I don't know if you ever saw Sauce Boys, which is like a little movie I did. It's the same director,
Oh,
same
wow.
star, Brian Galise. If you haven't seen it, it's a way different me. I think this director just likes making me do stuff like this. Hey guys, what are you doing over there? Okay, yeah, just completely different from my voice. He loves that, you know, and it's fun for me too. Yes, I will say this about Delay of Game. I got to do a scene with Brendan Sexton III, who I'm a huge fan of. I don't know if you know Brendan Sexton III, but like, you know, he's been in so many things. He's who does he play? He plays the kind of crazy unhomed guy on Russian Doll, the guy Horse. He was all the way back in Welcome to the Dollhouse. I guess he just does stuff with doll in the title. Welcome to Dollhouse, Russian Doll, other stuff. Empire Records.
His type.
Yeah, Empire Records. He was.
Oh my gosh! I mean,
long.
that's a classic.
Yeah, and he was. I mean, that was when he was like a youngster. He was like the guy that was caught shoplifting.
Yes, yes. Oh my gosh, that
So,
was such a good movie. That was with Johnny, and now I can't think of Johnny's last name. That was in it. Johnny was so great in that film.
yeah,
He was like the cute one. He was like the hot one that
right.
everyone wanted, like that worked at the store.
Yes.
But so if anyone's listening and if you have not seen that movie, go see Empire Records because it's a fantastic
Empire
movie.
Records is super fun, and it's also like one of those movies like a time capsule. Okay, this is definitely the kind of towards the end of like big record stores where people are, you know, it's the cool place to go to, almost like Borders Books was, you know, things like that.
Yeah, and like Liv Tyler is in it, right? Isn't she?
Tyler,
and then they have the rooftop where they all get to go hang out, where the big sign is, and it's just like the good old days before like
Liv Tyler, Renee Zellweger, Robin Tunney. Were those the 3 female leads on that movie?
Yes, it's
Huge.
such a good. It's almost like Reality Bites. It's like a moment in time.
Yeah.
Where, like it worked really well and it did really well.
Or Singles. You know.
Yes, Singles is another one. Oh my gosh, we knew we'd be talking forever about films.
Right?
But so for a Delay of Game, so you have that Empire Records connection. But is there anything you could tease about it at all?
It's a kind of a redemption story. It's I would say it's framed around hockey, which Brian Galise, that's kind of one of his specialties. Sauce Boys was a hockey comedy, hockey police comedy. This is a hockey comedy, maybe like a redemption story. Someone who's maybe missed an opportunity is going to try to get that one last chance to make the big leagues or make the big team or whatever. And I play a guy that's named Art that's just running this crappy little hockey rink, you know, and whatever happens with him in the hockey rink, that's what I got there. But yeah, it'll be fun. It'll be some of the festivals coming around, so hopefully it'll do well.
So that's exciting. So people can look for, you know, Delay of Game at some point to hit film festival circuits. So they could check all of that stuff out. They could follow you, right, to get updates. You're on Instagram, right? Not on Twitter.
I'm on both. Yeah, I'm more active on Instagram at Scoops Pope. I used to have a cat named Scoops. Pope. But yeah, that's where I am there.
So they can stay updated with like, you know, all updates for Delay of Game, when it's coming, where they can go screen it, all of that stuff you'll be kind of posting, keeping people updated. Hopefully we'll have a renewal for With Love. And then you never know if you'll be back on Surfside Girls. Listen, if Sterling can come back, we could have you know, we could have him handling another meeting and doing some fun stuff. So that would be fun.
Jonesing for Brent Pope. You can go to my website, you go to my podcast, Brentfest. Breakfast, which is like Breakfast, but with Brent, basically what the
Yeah,
show is.
and I was going to ask you about that as well. So you do, and I've listened to a couple episodes as well. You do a podcast. He's trying to get my job. He's trying to take my job from me.
It's a different job. It's different.
Different job. Different job.
Both of us.
Great. Tell people what it's about because it's a very interesting formula.
Yeah. One of the other things I love breakfast. I love breakfast. I love all the different variations that people eat. I think you can glean information about people's personalities from what you order. If you order French toast instead of a waffle or pancakes, those are all different things. I love to hang out with my friends who are a lot of our in the entertainment industry. So we go out, we eat breakfast, and we kind of talk about things, and then we go in and record and talk about our meal, so we can kind of shine a light on some of these like smaller eateries in LA that are like fantastic, but just don't get the publicity that they deserve. And we talk about our journeys in entertainment and anything else, all the weird stories, all the tiny little things that we can try to give newer actors to help them out. That's it's for foodies, it's for people that like entertainment, and it's for people that kind of like just a fun conversation, so
it's really funny, it's serious, it's heartfelt, it's really, and like you said, you guys talk, and sometimes the conversation goes into really deep where you give advice for, like you said, like for people that kind of want to come up in the industry. You guys tell really funny stories that you guys have experienced, crazy things that you've experienced, and then what's really fun is to hear about the food and where you are and what they serve and some of the specialties and what everybody got and why they got it. So it's a really interesting podcast. I really love it. I think it's a really smart idea that you guys kind of all do that together. So I highly recommend it. So I listen to it on Apple, but I'm assuming it's everywhere so people can.
It's everywhere. I mean, if you just go to
everywhere
my website, brentpope.com, it's on there
Okay.
too. That's the easiest way. And then there's a Breakfast page on there. And but yeah, it's everywhere. Spotify, Apple.
all the things.
Yeah.
I want to come one time because I've listened to it and I'm like, I want to eat with them somewhere. Because you guys
Yeah.
go to really, really, really cool places. And a lot of times I've never heard of them before. There's been a couple where I was like, ooh, I went there. Like I spotted that place. But a lot of times it's places I've never heard of. When you guys start talking and you hear all about it, you definitely want to go and you want to kind of like eat the food you guys are eating or check it out. So I'll have to hop over to your podcast one day. Come check out
Absolutely.
the
Anytime.
restaurant.
You're definitely welcome. Yes.
That would be so much fun. Yeah, so you have your podcast and you have With Love, hopefully season 3, keep your fingers crossed. We have a new movie, Delay of Game, that hopefully will be in a ton of film festivals all over the world and people can
Hope
follow
so.
you. You have brentpope.com so people can
Yep.
go there and keep updated. You're on Twitter
Mhm.
and Instagram so
Yep.
they can find you there. And then, anything else in your spare time that you have that you're doing? I feel like you're so busy.
Look, yeah. Well, yeah. It's it might be the time of year when people are doing their tapes to submit themselves for SNL. That's a fun thing. I mean, there's not a lot going on right now, so maybe I'm working on a bunch of characters right now.
That'd be so
Which,
fun.
yeah, it's a fun thing to do because everyone, obviously, SNL is an institution. So it's just a fun exercise, even if nothing comes of it, to just like create a bunch of characters. And also, what characters can I do that are, I like lately, I've been really loving to do my Louise Guzman impression because, oh my God, you got to come over and see my new show Wednesday. It's so good, So stuff like that, just that you walk around doing the house all day when you find that you can kind of do somebody's voice. You're just like, oh, let's do this and see what happens.
Do you do a lot of like improv still? Like where you go to classes and stuff? Because I feel like you would like be like a star of that.
I do some improv. I do more sketch. And actually, I did my first sketch show at the UCB theater, which is one of the big theaters,
wow.
like a month ago. And gosh, that was so fun. Having the live audience is just, if everything else is equal, you always want a live audience because that you get that, that feedback immediately. Even if you're doing one of those shows where they have the live studio audience, you get to hear if they think it's funny or if they don't think it's funny. And then, but that's the risk you take, so.
Well, I want to end. I would literally talk to you all day because I'm just so fascinated by you. Like you have so much knowledge. You've worked and done so many things, so many different characters. You're so funny. You played serious characters, and which I love too. I mean, like you've just done such a great job with your career. I'm just like I said, I'm fascinated by you. I would literally talk to you about everything. And I love that you have a podcast and you do all these things. But I will end with, I have two kind of a two-part question, which is basically what advice, I know you do this on your podcast a lot. So I don't know if one of your friends had really good advice or if you have advice that you want to kind of like impart, but is there any advice you would give to somebody that's kind of starting off, you know, new in the industry? And then the second part is you have a lot of fans that have kind of followed you from show to show. A lot of us have seen you, like, you know, it's, you get to see these people, familiar faces. We go, what show is that? And, you know, we hop back. And so there's a lot of people like me that knew who you were the second I said your name on Twitter, kind of tweeted out that I was going to be talking to you. So is there anything that you want to say to your fans? Because I always like to let someone have a chance, because I get to talk to you, but they don't necessarily. So I always let the actor have a chance to kind of talk back to their fans and say something. So
okay, gotcha. Advice for beginning actors. I mean, these may seem like obvious things, but like work on your craft. You know, what can you get better at? Because we can always learn, we can always get better. So if there are things you haven't tried before, take a class in that. You know, if you've never taken a class that's about on camera class, try that. Get better at that. And also, I'm a big fan of creating your own material, because in Hollywood, if you haven't done it yet, they may not believe you can do it. So go make your own thing where you show them you can do it, and then it's kind of undeniable because you've done it. And then you can use that for your reel if you don't have a reel, you know? So that would be my advice, I guess. And to the, what do they even call the Brent fans out there? The Pope dopes? I don't know. Thank you. I love doing this, or I wouldn't do it. Appreciate everyone watching everything. And yeah, reach out to me. I love to talk with people on Instagram and on Twitter and on my Facebook page, all those things. Any questions? There's no question. Well, there are some questions I won't answer, but if I can, I'll try to answer it for you. I do like engaging with people, you know? That's why I do the podcast I do. I like to talk to people. I'm sure you do. This is why one of the reasons you do this show. You like to talk to people and you like to learn things. So thank you for watching everything. I appreciate all of it.
Hope you guys enjoyed listening to Brent Pope talk about all of his experiences acting on a bunch of different television shows, and of course circling back to With Love, which was such a good show. It had such a great season. If you haven't caught the show, head over to Amazon Prime, where you could watch all of season 1 and season 2 now. And don't forget to hit the subscribe button so you're updated on all of our latest podcasts, and head over to our YouTube channel, hit subscribe so you're updated on all of our video content. Don't forget, subscribers get updated on all of our releases first. So if you want to be the first one to hear the latest podcast or see our latest videos, make sure you subscribe.